So stop me if you've heard this one before. Next generation consoles are coming real soon. In fact, Sony announced the PlayStation 5 today. What, you might ask? No way. Where did they announce that at, Rand? Well, according to an interview with the Financial Times, Sony Corporation Chief Executive Officer Kenshiro Yoshida confirmed that a next-generation PlayStation console is seen by the company, as a necessity. While he didn't actually call it the PlayStation 5, you know exactly what it is, and I wanted to talk about that for a little bit. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19 back again with another video. If you missed it earlier today, I posted a video about the Kotaku rumor that basically says Xbox is about to buy Obsidian, you know, another great pickup for Microsoft's first-party studios, ever growing. But of course, there's a little bit of other news today. Sony basically confirming that PlayStation 5 is real. I know, shocking, right? Water is wet and the sky is blue, but it's really the first time Sony basically mentioned it. And they said that it's a necessity. Here's actually the full quote from the Financial Times. At this point, what I can say is it's necessary to have a next generation hardware. Yeah, PlayStation 5 is coming. Get ready, guys. So the only questions we have left is when is it coming? I mean, it's no surprise that next generation is right around the corner. Hell, we had Microsoft on stage this past E3 talk about their next-gen systems, even though they haven't really named them yet. We know internally they're referred to as Xbox Scarlet. And of course, we know that Sony's working on the PlayStation 5. They had to be. But this is the first time they've actually mentioned that it's a necessity to have next-generation hardware. So the bigger question is, when is it coming out? What games will come with it? Is it going to be very similar to the PlayStation 4? Just a beefier machine? Those are the questions I want to know. And I think the big thing about PlayStation 5 is it has to do at least this one thing, and that is backwards compatibility. Now, they didn't really have backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4, considering I think the CPUs were different between the 4 and the 3. The 3 used the Cell processor. The PlayStation 4, I think, uses x86. They weren't really compatible, and they didn't want to try emulation. But from all accounts, it seems like PlayStation 5 will use similar hardware. And I think in this era of digital games, of bringing your digital library forward and honoring those purchases, I think it's an absolute must for PlayStation 5 to be backwards compatible with all your PlayStation 4 digital titles, in the same way that you already know Microsoft is going to be backwards compatible with all the Xbox One games and all their current, Xbox 360 games that are back compat, and even some of the original ones. Sony needs to offer that because it's a competitive advantage that Xbox has, and a lot of PlayStation gamers, I think, would feel a little bit upset if Sony left all those games behind. This isn't the PS3 to PS4 anymore. Digital is way more prevalent, so they have to offer that solution, and I'm confident they will offer that. And of course, it's all going to be about the games. Sony has some of the best first-party developmental studios out there. So when you think about when the PlayStation 5 is coming, you think about the games that are going to come with it. Now, I love God of War. I think it might be my favorite game of the generation. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I am salivating at the thought of what God of War 2 is going to look like on the PlayStation 5. I am, even though I didn't really enjoy what I played of Horizon Zero Dawn, maybe I just, was the wrong game at the wrong time for me. I was a little bit burnt out on open worlds, but I'm currently playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and quite enjoying that. So maybe I'll revisit Horizon Zero Dawn, considering I'm a little bit more open to open world games lately. One thing I will say about that game was it looked absolutely gorgeous. And Guerrilla Games is working on Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and my god, what is that game going to look like on way better hardware? The point I'm trying to make is that Sony has separated themselves from Xbox, Nintendo, and of course Google, and that they have a robust first-party developmental studio making games for the PlayStation 5. These games are going to be exclusive to the PlayStation 5, unless, of course, Sony has some sort of streaming device up their sleeves in a way to compete with Xbox and Google, or maybe a new PlayStation Vita. Who really knows about those plans? But it's definitely a reason to pick up a PlayStation to play all those amazing first-party games that Sony does produce. Now, with that said, of how their first party is just firing on all cylinders, the question becomes, when do you launch this? There's always the debate about when the PlayStation 5 is coming out. Is it 2019? Is it 2020? Is it 2021? My opinion, 2021 is a little bit too late. It has to either be next year or 2020. I'm sure PlayStation would love to get a year start on the Xbox successor, which I believe is coming on 2020. So it'd be interesting to see if Sony actually launches next year. Now, some of the reasons people give for the PlayStation 5 coming next year are that there's no PSX this year, because there really isn't any new games to show, and they haven't announced a new hardware platform with those new launch exclusives to show them at, which is why the games at E3 were those same 4 games that they've been showing for a while now, is that they're not ready to announce the PlayStation 5 yet, so they're not ready to show off the games. And, if those are the last few games out there and Sony is able to get those games out next year, then all possibility the PlayStation 5 could come out in 2019. When they launched the PlayStation 4 Pro, the mid-gen upgrade to the PS4, Mark Cerny said it was a mid-gen upgrade. And if the PlayStation 5 does come out in 2019, it exactly would be mid-gen. It'd be 2013 for the PS4, 2016 for the PS4 Pro, 2019 for the PS5. Exactly what he said it would be. But then those that say, 2019's too early. I'm still enjoying my PlayStation 4. It still has life left into it. There's tons of games coming out for the system. Just look at the beginning of next year. I mean, at the start in January, you have Kingdom Hearts. You have Resident Evil 2. In February, you have Days Gone. You have Metro. You have Anthem. And then in March, you have Sekiro. Sorry, I just watched Sekiro the other night, so it's on my mind. You have Division 2, you have Devil May Cry 5. There's a ton of games still to come out, and a ton of PlayStation exclusives, just a matter of when those games are coming out. So for a lot of people, they're like, I don't really see the need of having a PlayStation just yet. But there's the other argument that says, why do you need a PlayStation right now? PlayStation 4 is selling gangbusters. It's the #1 selling system pretty much everywhere. It's about to cross 90 million if it hasn't already. Spider-Man just broke all sort of sales records. That God of War just broke months before. Sony's on top of the game. Do you really need to come in with the system in 2019 and kind of cut off the sales momentum of the PlayStation 4 by introducing the PlayStation 5? And that's why people say 2020 is the year. I don't really know. I'm honestly on this fence where I can see 2019 being the date and 2020 being the date. In fact, I'm leaning more towards 2019 at this point, but I kind of need to see what Sony's slate of exclusives look like beyond Days Gone next year. If Last of Us launches next year, I think PlayStation 5 is 2019. If Last of Us is 2020, then I think that's 2020. And you know what Sony's gonna do, because it's a blueprint of everything they've done recently, is they're gonna sell you a lot of their games again remastered, even though they're going to offer that backwards compatibility. When Horizon Zero Dawn gets set to release, or Horizon Zero Dawn 2, the sequel rather, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a remaster for the PlayStation 5 that has it running at 4K 60. Same thing with God of War. Maybe even the same thing with Last of Us 2. Death Stranding could be a cross-gen title. Same thing with Ghost of Tsushima. Sony's done that this gen where they took PS3 games and remastered them for the PS4. And it won't look so bad this time, is because I believe they're going to give you the option of just, hey, you have the back compat version, go at it. But in my mind, it's like, right before Horizon Zero Dawn 2 comes out, you can get people really excited for it by offering an upgraded version of the game if people want it, and then of course still letting people play the version they bought. I think that would be pretty cool. And next gen, man, it's going to be a battleground. You can see it already forming. You have Google slyly making the announcement that they're in with Project Stream. Even Kotaku, I think, was talking about, or maybe it wasn't Kotaku, maybe it was Eurogamer, that they've heard Project Yeti, Google's console, is a next-gen device, and they're getting it on streaming. And you know what? They don't have a first-party stable of developers, so how are they gonna, convince gamers to come over? We don't know their business model, but Google has a ton of money, and they want in. Might cause for some concern, but that's just one aspect of it. Then you have Nintendo doing what Nintendo does, marching to the beat of their own drummer, selling Switches like gangbusters. Does the success of the Switch mean that Sony not only should do a PlayStation 5, but also maybe put out a PS Vita 2 of some sort? Do some remote play action, perhaps? Maybe they're thinking about that. And of course, there's Xbox. Xbox got trounced this generation by PlayStation. We all know the reasons why. PlayStation was more powerful and it was cheaper. But next generation's a restart. Xbox's biggest problems, which was the lack of a first party, seems to be addressed. The checkbook is open on that side, and I don't think Microsoft is going to make the mistakes they made in 2013, so I fully expect next generation to be way more competitive than this generation was. I'm not sure that Sony's going to be able to just walk away with everything like they did this gen. But that's why, the release is so important. If they can get out in 2019 and leapfrog the Xbox and Google, they'll be sitting in the driver's seat. They'll be turning over all those PlayStation 4 fans into PlayStation 5 fans before Xbox and Google can even make their play on why you need to get their systems. Or it comes out in 2020, along with the Xbox, along with the Google system and whatever Nintendo's doing, and we just have a huge brawl. Everybody fighting for our money, everybody creating all these great experiences for us to play, and quite frankly, I'm excited to see it all unfold. That's right. Well, that's the video. Kind of went a little bit longer than I thought, but I had a lot to say on the subject matter. So if you are excited about the PlayStation 5 and what next generation has to offer for Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and Google, let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Share this out on Twitter and social media with your friends and followers. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hi, how's it going? I'm Randall419. Do daily video game content. Actually play my games and beat them. I know it's a rare thing here on YouTube. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're always notified when I drop new content like this every day. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.